Howdy, everybody. My name is J.R. Sparrow. I do a lot of shows and I cover a lot of different things, but one thing that I always like to have on the show are authors. Authors are a different type of brand of people because authors have to look at a perspective that's deeper than what I do. All I got to do is look through a looking glass. They have to look through the looking glass, how the glass is processed, how it should be perceived by other eyes than themselves. All I got to do is worry about my own perception. So today with me, I have a guest and her name is Tosh. I won't chop up her last name. I'll let her introduce herself like that. But the nostalgia question we ask is, who is Tosh? So, Tosh, please tell us who you are, why you're here, and we will go from there.
Oh, thank you, Jayon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Tash Doherty, and I am an author of my first novel, which is called These Perfectly Careless Things. I'm usually based in Mexico City, where I run and host a blog called Miseducated, all about unlearning and the female experience. So I write about all different kinds of, relationships and sex topics very openly on the internet, which is much to my parents' dismay. But I also have just published this first novel, and it's a coming of age teen romance story set in London, which is where I currently am visiting my family. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. So let's do this real quick. Tell us about your background and what made you want to write things that may upset your mother and father.
That's a great question, JL. Well, I went to all girls schools until I was about 16 years old. And I think also I never had those honest and open conversations about sex. And so I wanted to explore that through writing. And I found that it was actually pretty fun to be able to think back through all of my different relationships and experiences. And you need something to set you apart these days on the internet. So I find that that's something that I don't feel as guilty about. And I've, just really enjoyed getting into the most deep and vulnerable experiences and connections that I've had with people. So that's why I actually have also been developing a course to teach sex writing as well. So there's a lot of studies that show that writing is very therapeutic for all different kinds of people studying from diseases and things. And now there's even evidence that if you write about, your sexual experiences or your relationships in an honest and focused way, then you can improve, your desire and intimacy and those kinds of things too. So that's what I'm working on.
Okay, so now do this for the because some people read the books that say dummy for this or that. So for the dummies, real quick, give us your interpretation and explanation of sex writing. And the reason I ask that in a very classy manner is because some people would think the first thing that comes to mind is smut. That's what people think, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yours is way more classier than that. So go ahead and take it away, please.
Thank you, JR. So yeah, sex writing is exactly that. You can definitely be a reader of smut, that still counts. But this is specifically about intentional journaling. So helping people to like curate a thought in their mind and journal about that and explore their own experiences. And then you can actually discover, more about your fantasies, what you like, what you don't like, your favorite experiences, your worst experiences. So it's more as a form of therapy that anybody could do, in the privacy of your own home. And a lot of my readers as well, I don't get as much engagement as I do get readers on my blog because, some of the times people don't want to say, I like this, and show that public like out there. So yeah, it's more of just like something that you can do secretly in the privacy of your own home. And that's why I enjoy teaching people about it.
Okay, and I thank you for that. Now, what inspired you to start writing this book? First off, when you were just 14,
Yeah.
that's right. Well, let me say this. Let me put a little filler in here real quick. That's like
Yeah.
the stage. I don't know for a female, but I know as a male, I started getting my mustache. Actually, I got the whole beard in one sitting. Like I dry shaved one time and I had the beard, so I've always had it at 14.
Wow. That's
And yeah,
yeah.
like I literally it was a coming of age period for me because it was like I'm done playing with my toys, and I'm talking about video games and stuff like that. I still play those, but I mean, like I put away the action figures, and I started looking at women in a different manner. I had girlfriends prior, but at 14, I was the man. I thought I was just no one could tell me anything. Nothing would inspire me to write anything. I had too much bravado just knowing that I'm about to become a man or I am the
Yeah.
man.
Totally. Yeah, that's super interesting. And you do have a great beard, so for sure that's stuck with you since you were 14, which is awesome. Basically what happened to me was I was in this high school and my English teacher told me that some other girl a couple of years older than me had written and published a book within like a single summer, like a summer vacation. And I was like, "Oh, wow, that can't be that difficult. Like surely I could just write a novel." But then obviously she had like managed to finish it and it took me like 7 summers. Every single summer I would get back to it and then I'd be like, oh, I can publish it before I'm 18, then it was before I publish it before I'm 20. And then obviously life got in the way. I went to business school, and once I was in business school, I was like, oh well, I just need to be a fancy business lady and make tons of money and have like fancy companies all over my resume and those kinds of things. And it's only through unlearning again through my 20s that I basically decided that actually in writing this teen romance novel was like really important to me. And like I wanted to finish this book, like no matter what was going to happen, like I was going to finish the book. So that was very important to me. And I did that, which I'm happy with.
Inside your book, you talk about deep personal topics like periods, and for anyone that doesn't know what a period is, that's menstruation, and first sexual experiences. How did you approach writing this in an authentic way? Like, obviously, we know based on experience, but like, how did you take the story? Because everything that happened to you, you had to kind of like think about if there was someone involved, obviously in the sexual
Right.
experience. Like, how do you curate that in a way that tells the true story, but still, keeps an identity out of the way, or maybe a clever way of disguising the identity?
Right. I mean, that's a question that's comes up a lot in my work actually, because even though I anonymize all of the partners that I write about, sometimes they can see themselves or they think that they're there in these works, and then, I have gotten like hate on the internet from that. So, I try not to do that, to be honest. I try not to drag my partners through the mud. But basically that's the core of like some of the sex writing that I teach, which is just sitting down and really getting into the feeling. Like, for example, taking a pregnancy test in the Starbucks bathroom, like really thinking through like what were the sights and the smells and the sounds and everything that was going on in that experience. That's something that I really try to focus on. And yeah, just that giving that depth and remembering all of the core feelings that I had. It's also very therapeutic and helps me to process those things too. And I also write about these things because they're often left out of literature. Like you don't need to like write about going to the bathroom, for example, but like there's still a lot of aspects of human nature that we don't read about in literature a lot. And I wanted to just, add that as a bit of spice into the into the
Okay,
history of the world.
okay. Now, setting this novel in London, obviously the influence for that is because you're from there,
Yeah.
and it's kind of comfortable. Now, writing from there, and then having that influence for your story, what type of reaction did you get after you wrote this from readers about it being in London, and the unfiltered discussions like of the female experience that you're doing in this? Like, how did your readers
Yeah.
react to that? Because like you said, being very tight in the conversation, and we're not a PG podcast, we're a rated R, X-rated podcast, whatever you want to call it. Here's the thing: talking about the actual menstruation, that is something that is very, and this is odd, I'm about to add this word, I don't like to say it, but I gotta say it's
Yeah.
actually taboo in a sense, because you hear about it, you learn about it, you learn about the science,
Yeah.
but you don't actually get the, because I'm a male, I don't have
Yeah.
those functioning body parts to create that situation for myself, which
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been told that you don't want that to happen to you, but it's part of life, natural life
Right.
process. So you doing that, how did your readers react to it? Did someone like say like, "Hey, thank you," or
Yeah.
was it
I
very
really appreciate you saying that because yeah, I think that's something that, people think about all the time, or they want to be able to understand these experiences more, and which is again why I explored them. Some of my readers really love the book. I gave it to my therapist, like she loved the book. But the girls, I've often found like girls who are like literally from my neighborhood or my like target, very, very target audience have also found it difficult to read because it's so close. It brings you back so much to that like really insecure level of like being a 15-year-old girl where you're like trying to party, but you're like also your body's developing, and you're like, and that's also the part of it too, which is like, I'm not presenting this, version of teenagers like sleeping around for the first time as this like beautiful, like sanctity, virginity thing. I'm talking about like that awkwardness of like, seeing another person naked for the first time, or seeing a human male penis. I've got a whole whole chapter on that. And I think that's the honesty, and that's really what I try to do in my blog as well, is that we might see these statistics like, there's the orgasm gap, which is basically that in heterosexual relationships, women orgasm around 60% of the time versus men orgasm around 90% of the time. Why is that? Why are women not orgasming in their sexual relationships with men? And so not just looking at those statistics, I try to also bring in, hey, this is my personal experience. Like how many of the men that I've slept with have actually helped me to orgasm? I think it's really important to like bring a human face to those statistics as well. So that's what I try to do in my blog, and I hope I've achieved that in my book.
Right, and I can understand that, and we're all adults here, so I'll say it like this, like because even at a male, like going from my 20s to my 30s, and almost out of my 30s to my 40s, like you learn as a male, and I had a lady on the show literally last week that talked about all these things, and you would never believe how many men believe that the template, and we'll use that because that's a great way to say it. Their
Yeah.
template, they think that their template is what is part of a satisfying venture for both.
Yep. Yep.
And this lady even helped me, and I'm not ashamed to say this, but I've even learned in some of these instances with certain partners that I wasn't the man, as we like to say, and
Yeah.
I wasn't a thrill, I wasn't the thrill, and it was the person that you would have thought. And I hate to throw names out there like this, but the the inadequate, socially awkward guy ended up
Yeah.
being the guy that was the masterful, you know, Christian Grey for
Yeah.
these women or woman or whoever, or any way you do your partners. So that is amazing that you do talk about that, because that is something like that, people will talk about. And like I said, people that have that template and just do that all their lives, they think
Yeah.
that that's right and that they're pleasing their partner, and they're not.
Yeah.
So that's an odd one there. Now moving along.
I'll just add something. I went to a comedy show on Saturday, and the guy did a bit about this, and he said that he would not go to, if you went to a different friend's house, you wouldn't try to use the Wi-Fi password from your house or from your other friend's house. So you have to treat each woman differently. You know what I mean? Like each woman is going to have her own different uh recipe, right? For like what pleasure looks like to her. So again, I'm not here to say that the way that I like am pleasured is the same way as, everyone else, but I'm willing to write about it and be like, hey, this is actually the state of affairs in a way.
Right, and I wholeheartly agree with that, and I thank you for that. Now, switching directions. Oh, I hit some piece of metal. Hopefully, they can edit that out. Now, you've had a fascinating life. Wharton graduate. Congratulations on that. Tech analyst, now a published author. So let's
Yeah.
get into the middle of this. How do you leave technology, the tech industry, to become an author? That's kind of like a 360, or as I like to say when I'm skiing or snowboarding, that's a 1080. That's a
Yeah.
because I'm not going to even give that a 360, because that's like
Yeah.
apples to oranges, oranges to kiwi.
Right, exactly. It's been a transition for sure. And I would say I'm now 2.5 years into my journey of being an author, and I would not say that I have like mastered the experience of being an author yet. But what I would say is that I just enjoy data and science and, studying and analyzing things. So that's actually a really, really good monetizable skill set. And I encourage everyone out there, if you have something that's good that like pays the bills, then you can always go and pursue your passions as well. And also monetize your passions with time. But definitely for me, I knew that I wanted to publish my book. That was like the inner teenager, right? Like my deep, deep childhood dreams was to like finish the book. And now I'm kind of like, well, does that mean I'm going to publish more books, or like what else am I going to do from here? But it took me a long time to like uncover all of that. And also, by the time you're getting paid that much money in tech, it's very difficult to then say goodbye to those jobs because, you can be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But ultimately, I think it's much more important for me to be in control of my time and control of my creative output and be happy. So that's basically the the main driving force of why I decided to do it.
Okay. Now, you moved to Mexico. How does that influence your life and work? Like, because Mexico, like, I've only been down to Cancun and it's on
Mhm.
vacation. So tourist area is completely different. But I've heard
Yeah.
the stories, and
Mhm.
obviously we're actually neighbors because I'm right in America. So
Right.
I know what goes on down there, and I hear of the stories, and everywhere has problems. But being in
Yeah.
Mexico, Mexico City though, which I've never been there, but I've seen, I at least seen the soccer team play. So,
Yeah.
being there, how did that influence your work, and like how did that influence your life? Because that's a whole different culture, and then you're another sub.
Yeah.
You listen, you're a subculture inside a culture. You have another culture outside of that. You have your culture from the UK, and
Yeah.
and I hate to say that when you go to Mexico, regardless, you still get some type of US influence somewhere.
Totally.
So how do you balance all that out?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think for me personally, I love living in Mexico. It gives me so much creative inspiration. Don't get me wrong, I have also witnessed some really messed up things, and I personally had very, very messed up things happen to me there. But honestly, Mexico just has that like the richness, right, of both the messed up stuff and the beautiful stuff. But the beautiful stuff is so beautiful, whether it's architecture, the weather, the culture. I speak fluent Spanish as well. So I love to just like chat with, abuelas on the street or whoever, is around in my neighborhood. I live right next door to a hairdresser as well. So I really feel like I'm in my community. And they actually call me La Mexicana because I have my residency now, which is like
Oh
super
wow.
that my the women who work in the hairdresser next to my house call me that. So I don't know. I think honestly, it's a really, really beautiful place and has such a rich and fascinating history that I really will never be able to like fully understand or like I can barely scratch the surface. But the people are also so nice. The food is incredible. I don't know. It's really the Mexican dream where I live. So
Okay.
so I really enjoy it. And it's enabled me to do so many things like, you know, living in Mexico, I can work remotely for a US company or, you know, use the data skills that I had before from business school and then spend my actual days, you know, writing and posting on the internet about all the different things that I'm writing about and getting excited about that. So I'm Mexico Mágico, as they say, magical Mexico, and I'm very grateful to live there. So
So
yay.
so definitely everybody head out over to Mexico and remember when you need to know something, como se dice, will help you a lot. Whenever that will be something
Exactly.
definitely will help you. So miseducated. What inspired you to start it, and like what made you want to just do that?
I just have so many thoughts and like different topics that I wanted to write about. And also when I've been working now through my tech and data work is I work in SEO. So I know how to optimize articles for Google search. So that means that my articles can rank higher. So I can hopefully build the blog and make it bigger over time. And yeah, I just wanted a forum where I could share these things. And I'm really grateful. I'm over 450 subscribers now on my personal blog, which is great. So people want to read what I have to say every week, apparently. And I couldn't be more grateful to my readers and everyone out there who wants to read what I have to say every week. So yeah.
Okay, so now you're using your writing skills and you're sharing your personal experiences across two platforms that I'm interested in right now,
Mhm.
TikTok and Substack. Substack is something I want to say this about Substack. If you don't know anything about Substack, audience, when you see the video or listen to audio, just talk to somebody about Substack because that to me I like TikTok's fine, but it's built off of something that's previously been around. But
Yeah.
Substack is a whole
Yeah.
it like to me it's like its own world.
Right. It's really awesome. And it's amazing because there's so many incredible journalists and people who have amazing, huge followings and are really niche authors in all different kinds of topics as well. So I feel very lucky to be able to be writing and creating content in this form right now in the way that media is changing in the landscape. Because I also used to work in big tech media and it's a rough industry. I mean, it's hard to make money out there, but it's amazing because you can go on Substack and you can pay $6 a month to support your favorite journalist or researchers or anyone that you're interested in. So yeah, I'm very grateful. Love Substack.
All right, and you've had a viral moment.
Yep.
You have produced content on TikTok about birth control.
Yeah.
So, how did it go in viral? What was the experience like, and how did it influence your work afterwards?
It's a really great question. And it's funny because I made this viral TikTok about me getting an IUD like 3, 4 years ago. And I then could not recreate or make anything that was good after it. I'm up to like almost 1 million views and I think like 250,000 likes on that specific video. And basically the goal with that video was to say, hey, I actually had a very positive experience with the IUD. Now the IUD, like or the coil as it's called in other countries, is just this plastic T-shaped device. It's really small, and they like stick it into your uterus basically through up through your cervix, which is a painful insertion process. Like it's painful to get it done, but then they can last, depending on which one you get, from anywhere to like 5 to 20 years. The one that I got lasts for 8 years, and I'm about to like get it replaced. So what I wanted to do was say, hey, look, I know that a lot of women have had, you know, really traumatic experiences or you know, painful experiences with this process, but like I've actually had an overwhelmingly positive experience. So basically it was me getting the IUD, having as much sex as I wanted whilst also being safe. And also then teasing my friends who use the pill and who are like forgetting their pill every day and being like sassy basically and just being like, oh, I'm so sorry that you forgot to take your pill. Like I don't have to worry about for like that for another 5 years. So people liked it, and I don't know, it was really good for me to be able to do that because if you look on TikTok again, it's like all these horror stories, you know, but millions and millions of women are using this very safe birth control method. It's very 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 good for protecting pregnancy as well. And the one that I have, which is the hormonal IUD, it helps to reduce your period pains and period cramps as well. So that's been a game changer for me. Very little periods, no pregnancy for 8 years, and I'm thriving. And that's what I wanted to that's what
Right,
I wanted
thriving
to
and
share on the
striving, right?
TikTok. Yeah.
Nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. Now, looking ahead, everybody has things going on. We have long-term goals and all that stuff, but let's not worry about that right now because we can talk about that in just a moment. Let's
Yeah.
go back to when you were 14 years old
Yeah.
and you were starting your journey.
Hmm.
What would be the piece of advice that you would give yourself that you didn't have then that could have probably saved you a little heartache or time?
Right. I think your dreams are real. Like, whether you have written them down, you have a list of goals, don't let anyone else tell you, your parents or your teachers or whoever, what your dreams are. That's very important. And then also be bold in pursuing those dreams because realistically, I'm a very big fan of YOLO. You know what I mean? Like, you only live
Yes.
once. Like, one day you'll be retired or you'll be dead or whatever, or maybe, who knows what could happen to any of us. So I'm more of a like seize the day kind of person, and I just want to be able to live a life that makes me happy. And if you have a dream that you are interested in and that really inspires you and empowers you, then that is your calling. Pursue your calling because it's better than and almost anything else you can come up with is that one thing that you want to do. So yeah,
Okay, and I like that. So thank you very much for that. So Tosh, we're getting to a point in this episode where I pay homage to a news magazine, and that news magazine is from the United States. It is called 2020. On 2020, you had John Stossel. He is a comedian,
mhm.
always doing something funny inside of journalism on that show. You have Elizabeth Vargas that's on there. She's a newer entity. She's a great interviewer. You had Diane Sawyer on there, and she was very poignant. Diane Sawyer is what people strive to be. But
Yeah.
then there was a lady that just passed away not too long ago, the late great Barbara Walters.
Oh
Barbara
yeah.
Walters was personable. She could take anybody and make them interesting. And
Mhm.
when I say that, I'm not talking about the idea of question and answer, but question and then persuasion with the way that she reacts, her rebuttal. Whatever her
Mhm.
rebuttal would be, it could change your direction. So as a young kid, it'd be about 10:50 at night. We get to about 10:58. If she's really doing a great interview, the news station is going to let her carry over until 11:06 into the
Wow.
newscast time. If not, they cut her ass off at 11 o'clock because they just knew they're like, Barbara, you do a lot of shows 4 times 12. It's a lot of shows you do a year. So
Yeah.
we'll let you slide sometime. So are you ready, Tosh, for your questions, your 2020 questions? You're going to go on the hot seat. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Are you sure? You're
Yeah.
prepared? Okay,
Yeah.
so here we go. First question. If you could change a misconception about the female experience,
Mm.
what would be the misconception that you would tell me as a man today? Um, I need to just get out of my mind.
Okay, so basically, the main misconception is that when it comes to the female anatomy, the vagina, the inside tract, is just for male pleasure. The actual way that females are pleasured are obviously through the clitoris, and 70% of female orgasm problems are from not enough or they're not the right kind of stimulation of the clitoris. So that is the most important thing. Women do not orgasm just through vaginal penetration alone.
Wow, and that's powerful. So going deeper into that, so so being an expert on this and knowing this feeling and sensation,
Yeah,
how do you tell your friend? How do you talk to your friend about this matter? How do you
right.
how do you ask her? Because that's a conversation you all have. How do you like actually talk to her? And because when you're doing this, you're gathering data, which I
Yeah,
know. So
right.
how do you have that conversation with your best friend?
Yeah, with my female friends.
Yes.
I mean, I would just start with and say, like, does she seem satisfied? Is he going down on her? Do they have other toys or other kinds of ways that she's able to orgasm? And I actually have some friends who have not orgasmed before, and I really try to just sit with those people and say, to not be ashamed, right? Like wherever you are in your experience right now is what you've learned up until this point, and whether it comes to exploring your body also being with a partner that makes you feel safe, right? Like if you don't feel safe with your partner, it's completely possible that you don't want to have orgasms with them and not real ones anyway. And also, I would just say the other thing that I would definitely tell any female friend is don't fake it because if you're faking orgasms, you're not giving your male partner the feedback that they need to actually improve, and it's not real. So, do yourself a favor and please be honest with your male partners about whether or not you're actually being pleased.
I thank you for that because that is something right there that gets lost in translation. Because there's some guys that even I've been a victim of this. I thought I was a man, and then when you're broken up with or you're out of the picture, then you get this story back to you from a mutual friend or something that you were very lackluster, you were at the bottom of the scale, and not for ego or for any pride thing. If you're
Mhm.
not doing it right, if you're not making the motions and oceans properly, You
Yeah.
that's something that gets lost in translation, and we should know because we'll go
Yeah.
out here and think we're the man or the woman or whatever, and we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like you said, personal preference and personal pleasure depends on the partner, so you have to go with that. Now,
Yeah.
going deeper into to things, what is the most uncomfortable topic for you to bring up in your writing? So that's the first part, in your writing
Wow.
and to your partner.
That's a really great question. I would say right now, as I get more readers and stuff, I think I'm actually aware of how much writing about sex is making some of my friends uncomfortable. So I kind of want to just preface all of that and say I'm sorry to some of my readers. And I would say that a lot of my like family stuff is like definitely coming up. I've been in a couple of different 12-step programs. One of them is called ACA, which is for dysfunctional families. And so writing about that would be difficult because, my brother reads my work, which I'm grateful to him for doing. But I don't think I could really write about that stuff, out there on the internet that much. Um, yeah, that's probably it. I don't know why. I think I'm like missing a screw in my brain that would make me like I actually would be fine writing about these things, but I think with those things when it comes to family and destroying the reputation of the family, like that stuff is really really hard. And that's why I really appreciate, like Tara Westover with her memoir Educated, some of these amazing writers who would just like rip off all the band-aids and like air out all their dirty laundry with their memoirs. Like, ugh, I love reading memoirs, but it's that stuff so hard. And sorry, what was your second question again?
My second question is like, how do you deal with like that? Like, how do you? I don't even remember what my second question was. I'll be honest,
I
I
guess I
forgot it.
can I can write I can talk about so when I have written about my partners. Oh yeah, you said questions to bring up with your partners.
Yeah.
Well, I've written about partners who like recognize themselves, and I've gotten like a bunch of hate, like, people on the internet being like basically friends of girlfriends of those people. Um it really really rocks me because I only still have like, let's say 450 readers. But is the pleasure or the beauty or the creation of what I'm making that for those readers worth all of the hate on the internet, right? Like, and right now, because my blog is quite small still, I don't really want to put myself in like that many stressful situations when it comes to those kinds of things. But honestly, you have to just like fuck the haters at some level, and just keep going. And I think, I mean, I'm dating somebody kind of right now, and I would say one thing I'm struggling to bring up with them is like a lot of emotional connections and things. Like I don't like I asked them something about their family and they really did not want to talk about that. And I think I want to be with somebody who's like very emotionally open, and who we have that connection going on. And I thought that this person was going to be like that, but the more that I'm kind of with them, that's becoming a bit of a struggle. And so I think that's something that I continue to think about with my male partners. But that's why I'm actually writing my next book, which is going to be, it's called The Ultimate Guide to Dating Women, and it's all about the evolutions of masculinity that are happening right now. So in addition to learning about how to pleasure women, I'm also going to have sections on emotional intelligence and, expressing and communicating your emotions, in the hope that that will help me to find a very sweet and emotionally intelligent man out there for myself one day. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, I
Yeah.
want to thank you for that. And those were the questions that got you more personable, and we know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
Now going forward, before we end this podcast, here's the thing that I need you to do for us, Tosh.
Yeah.
I need you to give us the greatest mission statement on earth to end this show, and let people know. Here's the other part. There's a thing that we do called the shameless plug. I need everybody to know where they can meet and greet you across the internet. And the amazing thing about
Yep.
the show, I'll tell you all, is in the show notes there will be links to every and any place possible to meet her. But some people have to hear it, some people have to see it. So if you can give them the visual, give them the audio, that'd be awesome. And your mission
Thank you.
statement.
Okay, the mission statement is my current mission statement. There's a couple of them. I'll just give you two. So one of them is I owe to the public my portrait complete. And this is from a 16th century philosopher, Michel de Montaigne. And the idea is that if you create a complete portrait of myself as a person, you should be able to read anything, that has been on my mind. And no topic is off limits. Basically, it's the key with that. And the one on the bottom of my website, which is it's when they say the future is female. Well, I cross out future and I put the present is female, basically, which is important. Because I think women are doing amazing things today. You know, we're not waiting for this like imagined future when women are suddenly gonna start doing things. We're doing things now. And everyone can, if anyone is interested in finding more about my work, you can find my book, number one, These Perfectly Careless Things, on Amazon. Also, there's an audiobook version, which is pretty fun, which I also narrated myself. And then, oh, there's also my Instagram is at miseducated underscore. So you can find me on Instagram or TikTok. That's my handle. MISSEDUCATED underscore. And where else can you find me? Oh yeah, my Substack as well. So miseducated.substack.com or tashdoherty.com if you would like to read more of my very spicy, spicy and at times interesting blog. So thank you.
Okay. So once again, Tasha, I want to thank you for coming on West Virginia and Commonplace. And here's a quick little testimony. It takes a lot to have fortitude. It takes a lot to separate yourself and to actually derive this word unique. You were unique if no one told you that. So take that, wrap it up, make a
Oh.
blanket out of it, manufacture it into a pill, and see if you can sell it to people because people need to be more unique. And when I say unique, let's break it down real quick. And this is real simple. It takes a lot to take something so simple and make it so interesting.
Mm.
I can take a kiwi, like I don't know why I'm on kiwi, but I can take kiwi and strawberries and put them together, right? And that'll be great all day long, make a drink out of it. But I can't always just take that kiwi and make a good drink out of it. And I can't always take the strawberry and make a good drink out of it. But you can do that. I can't. So take that and keep that one too and manufacture that into something also. Now, here's the next thing, talking about the actual female experience. Um, our society has watered down so much, even though
Mm.
we break barriers and different things. But once we break the barriers, we put things into subcategories. We compartmentalize so many things, and the
Mm.
things that get compartmentalized get put away, get put in your
Yep.
memories museum and go away. But you're not going to let that happen. You want the female experience to get out there, and you want to let people know, hey, I'm having sex. I'm having sex in a controlled manner, and I want to
Yeah.
let you guys know about my experience in a healthy and classy, vulgar, or however you want way, without putting pressure on people.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do when you talk about anything that has the word sex or sexuality in it, because
Mm.
people already feel like they're up against the fence when you say that, and you do that very
Yeah.
well. So I want to thank you for that. I want you to continue to do that. And the last thing that I need you to do is keep your smile. Keep your smile.
Yeah.
It's very contagious. Take it, take it from London to Mexico to everywhere. Whenever you make that trip to Canada in next year, or whenever
Yeah.
you decide to go there, take it there and make those people happy too. So on that note, I'm JR and she is Tosh, and we are signing off.
Thanks, JR. Bye.